for, using your data to build predictive models to reflexively influence how you vote. I don't think Democrats or Republicans like that. And that's kind of what I've been trying to speak out and expose.
And that is very important to understand.
Fair elections.
Yeah, that is your field of study that you did in the military that you're famous for.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Or infamous, maybe, at this point. But,
yeah, there you go. Patrick Bergy.
I was just the IT guy, man.
We're talking to Patrick. Let's get some stuff here. Patrick Bergy. We're talking to Patrick Bergy, freedomstream.tv. That's his website, irnbroadcast.com. Every Thursday night with a podcast. His Patreon is American Awakening, and you can find him on Twitch. PFC_Bergy, Bergy. Several books. Victim of the Swamp, How the Deep State Destroyed the 40-Year-Old Private, Operation Shadowgate, The American Awakening, and Operation Shadowgate, The Hacking of Mankind's Shadow. We have to have you come on one day, just for like 2 or 3 hours, and really, 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 really pick your brain.
Would love to.
I know. Well, listen.
This is my life.
I know.
can talk this all day.
I hear you, man. No, real quick question, and then I want to get into all the new indictments. Your amicus brief you attached to the search warrant over there in Mar-a-Lago and what happened with that, and then also to you're attaching some new amicus briefs to the current indictments, and also your testimony before the January 6th committee. Before we get to that, do you think it's possible that they're getting this crew of Sidney Powell and Flynn and these characters with this information about the satellites and Italy and firefights and all this stuff, right? This stuff, man. Could they have been getting that from the Russians?
Well, the satellites and the Italy stuff, that was all tied to Alexander Nix, right? So they were targeting Alexander Nix. Who was they? Well, Rudy and the other people that were tasked to do it by Trump from that letter that Trump was handed that Christmas Eve by that woman that had this information about them stealing the election in Italy. And she hands Trump a letter, and Trump's like, oh, my God, I got to put Rudy on this. Well, put Rudy on it. He's got a $60 million financial connection to the guy that they're investigating.
Oh, my God.
You think maybe for transparency we could find somebody not currently suing Alexander Nix for $60 million? Maybe, I don't know. And Sidney Powell, right? Yeah. I sent her a letter, an email, when I was in D.C. with our team up there, saying, because I saw her on stage with Lynn Wood and Ali Akbar. And Ali Akbar, I was calling him out as a terrorist.
Ali Alexander or Ali Akbar?
Ali, same thing.
Okay.
He was Ali Akbar until apparently it wasn't politically correct, and then
that wouldn't be popular amongst those red hats. Yeah.
So it's hard to launch a Christian movement named Ali Akbar. Yeah. So he changes his name to Alexander and launches a Christian movement that ends up basically being, accused of inciting the events of January 6th.
Well, and also, too, he admits to luring little boys and trying to hit on little boys on the internet.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that.
So, the face of MAGA, which people go, oh, why could you be mad at MAGA? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Look what you guys have allowed to happen. These people don't represent my values. And Sidney Powell, she knew about him. She responded back to me, hey, thanks for letting us know. We didn't know about his past. But then that was over a month before January 6th.
Wow.
And they still do nothing.
Wow.
So these people, they knew that the election had been won. They knew
wait. You're saying they knew Ali Alexander was hitting on little boys a month before January 6th?
Well, no, they knew that Ali Alexander was running influence, was basically a terror. I told them of his criminal background, his background with other things, how he attacked Shadowgate when Milley was arrested. He attacked me, called me a junkie veteran. I'm like, really? I'm a whistleblower. What, if you have a question about any claim that I made, please feel free to challenge me on that, ask me about it. I actually provided evidence of all my claims in Shadowgate. But he was a former asset of Karl Rove. He said he worked with Cambridge Analytica, and which I was exposing in Shadowgate. So he attacks it, and I tell them that, and they acknowledge it, and they're like, wow, thanks, we didn't know that. But then they continue to give him a platform. These people knew that Trump had lost. Stone knew that Trump was going to lose even before the election. And why was he going to lose? Because Stone realized that after Trump won in 2016 because of the shenanigans that were with the data and the predictive analytics and the social media psychological warfare that was used by Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, and these others, Cambridge Analytica, and that put Trump over the line, right? And he won. But then right after he won, and by the way, all they did was they kind of stole all of those ideas from Obama, who was doing it back in 2008 and 12. Actually, I'm sorry. We were doing it for McCain in 2008, Dynology, right? Obama's national security advisor. Then in 2012, Obama was doing it. Then Facebook caught on and said, hey, you can't be using our data like that. And they shut down all the APIs. So the Democrats are like, oh, now how are we gonna cheat to win? We'll have to just play fair. But then Bannon came around and said, hey, we could set up this Cambridge Analytica thing. We could get people to give us their data. And, and then once they allow us authorization to have their data, we can grab all of their friends' data, right? And so that's what Cambridge Analytica did. That's what they were sued for $1 billion, put out of business, and found guilty of. So all of that, those resources and networks were taken down, shut down by, actually people connected to Tremarco and Giuliani, right? One of the people involved with that was this professor. I can't think of her name right now. But she was like a friend of Mike Tremarco's, who was also involved with the Cambridge Analytica, with the British news firm that exposed him. So Trump knew, I'm not saying Trump, I know that Roger Stone knew that that they were going to be hurting in 2020 because now not only did they lose Cambridge Analytica, but my old boss, General Jones, as chairman of the board of Atlantic Council, went and partnered with Facebook to restore election integrity worldwide and to combat fake news, quote unquote, right? So the guy that I built the ShadowNet for, which was designed to destroy the integrity of elections, is who Facebook tapped to partner with to restore the integrity of elections. I always just found that really fascinating, right? So Stone and those guys knew that they weren't going to win because not only was their tools to cheat taken away from them, it was reestablished, rebuilt formidably against the Democrats against them. They now controlled every post that Trump made. They were able to shadow ban everything labeled MAGA, right? Yeah. Tell me that didn't have an impact on the election. Of course it did. Everybody's wondering, Trump's like, oh, I can't, they won by 10 million votes. That's never happened before. No shit. And those are exactly the numbers I would expect based on the command and control that they had over mainstream media. Hell, the former vice president of Jones Group International sits at Fox News right now as the one of the chief White House correspondents. They have assets all through the media. They control the social media. He lost because of that, not because of the voting machines. But I will add, Scott Bennett, right? Yeah. Scott Bennett had the Democrats' playbook. The Democrats knew that win or lose, Trump's, the Republicans were going to go after the integrity of the voting machines, right? Scott Bennett had their playbook from one of the highest people in the labor union, ACLU, right?
Okay.
Or no, not ACLU, the labor union, right?
Yeah.
And he had their playbook.
AFL-CIO.
And they said, AFL-CIO. And they said, and so everything that they had in that playbook that they said that we were going to do, we did. Even though Scott's got the playbook there in D.C., handing it to Byrne, handing it to Flynn, right, saying, wow, you're doing everything that they anticipated you're doing. Hey, and by the way, if they're anticipating that you're doing that in a playbook that they actually wrote out, what are the odds that they didn't infuse some fake, voting issues? Because knowing that you're going to bite on it, take the hook, take the bait, right? I mean, if they knew that it's how we were going to behave, it would be irresponsible of them not to bait us. And so we fell for every single thing that they wanted us to do in December. And you can ask Scott on that. He'll back you on that. And he'll back me on that. And so, we knew we were going to lose. Once we did lose, these guys were like, we need to change the outcome of the election because we don't like the results. And I'm like, as an American, that's jacked up. You don't do that. Losing sucks, especially when the people that you lost against cheated. But our country depends on the sanctity and the transfer of power.
Yeah.
And maybe fix the problem. Maybe expose what they were actually doing. Maybe help me as a whistleblower expose my boss who was putting all of these partnerships together, who were putting all these assets together, who actually had the software, the means, the motive, and opportunity to alter the outcome of an election. Because why? Because that was his frickin' job doing it overseas. I think, according to news arguments, I can't reveal anything classified, but read the news on what these guys were doing and what their jobs were. Flynn, Jones, McChrystal. That's what they did.
Okay, and everyone also to go back to the archives, find the first interview with Patrick Bergy, because we go over a lot of this stuff there too as well. Now, Patrick, the last time I talked to you, you had inserted an amicus brief into the Mar-a-Lago case. What became of that? Has anybody interviewed you that brought you in?
It was kind of cool because right after that, like the very next day, Patrick Byrne came out in an interview. Patrick Byrne came out like just doing a live video where he starts out by saying, it may turn out that the raid on Mar-a-Lago had something to do with me. Okay. Well, that's exactly what I put in my affidavit,
right.
which forced him to come out and say that the next day. And Patrick Byrne, we know he's a former CI for the FBI multiple times. Yeah. Pete Santilli had a field day with him in an interview he did not long ago saying, it's okay if you're a CI, just let everybody know so we don't just sit there looking at you like a road cone when it comes out. And which I laughed my ass off, one of the funniest interviews I've seen. So people know that he's been involved in all of this. He was involved with Maria Butina.
Yep.
But he never gets. He begs to get arrested and can't get arrested.
That's right. He's not named. He's not named
right
as
now.
He wasn't indicted, and he's not even named as a co-conspirator.
I really feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Right. He wants so bad to be named, but that's what you get with these immunity deals when you're giving information to them.
Okay. So what became of that? Did the FBI, DOJ, the prosecutor, did they come in and talk to you?
No.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It is, but it isn't because I submitted that pro se, right? And I'm nobody. I get that. Broke dick PFC. I don't think you have to edit that. Yeah. That's actually okay. And, so I'm a nobody. But one thing I noticed that when Hunter Biden filed that with the DOJ, he had an attorney file it for him. And you know what? the DOJ paid attention. I don't think it was so much because it was Hunter Biden.